I made that video yesterday night, I did not think that Lamelo Ball was actually gonna get traded. But here we are, so I got more content. Um, let's honestly just get straight into it. So let me bring up the trade package real quick. So the trade details are broken down here. Lamelo Ball and Josh Green from the Hornets for Naz Reid and a 2020 or 2033 unprotected first round pick. They got as well 3 second round picks from 2029, 2032, and 2033, and 3 first round pick swaps in 28, 29, and 30. Wow. Um, I'm assuming, and it's not said, but these pick swaps are probably going to be the the best pick available kind of swap. As in, if the Timberwolves play better than the Hornets, then the Hornets will get their own pick. But if the Hornets get a higher pick, or if the Timberwolves get a higher pick than the Hornets, then vice versa will occur. But it's pretty interesting. And so I sat there and I listened to a lot of, people talk when I was on my drive home from work, when I was walking outside after dinner. A lot of people are going to say that, the Hornets, maybe made the decision because they believe more in Concanople to be the one, and I think that is part of the reason. But I think that this is a Hornets team that has, in this new lottery system, potential to get the first overall pick. They will be one of these middle of the pack teams in the East, with Concanople able to grow into being your lead player. You see if he even can be a lead player, or if you require Lamelo Ball next to him. Regardless, you're entering another pretty interesting draft class from what I've heard. I don't really know anything about the incoming freshman class, but you get a lot of talent as a perspective, and it's really thinking forward. In You don't think that Lamelo Ball, Concanople, Brandon Miller, etc. will bring you a championship this year, but it will probably, Concanople has the chance to bring you a championship, and you think that Lamelo Ball may be a little too old. Lamelo Ball is probably commanding the most that he will ever command right now in a season where he was healthy, where the Hornets were semi-successful or beat expectations at the least. Yeah, there is a lot of interesting stuff that is going on here, and I'm super excited to see Lamelo Ball in a Wolves jersey. And this is the big talk. We need to give them all the primetime games. Is it primetime? I don't know. But we need to give the Wolves a lot of games, because you're going to see some crazy lobs being thrown. But they are so significantly invested in the guard position and nowhere else. It is a little concerning. This is a constant conversation where we just saw the Thunder draft another 7-footer. We just saw the Spurs go after length. They are already 2 of the tallest teams in the NBA, and they're going after more length in the NBA draft. Clearly, teams are moving back towards the dominant big man instead of the small ball guard. And while, yes, Jalen Brunson was the main player on a championship winning team, he still had a 7-footer in Cat in the paint doing a lot of dirty work. So I don't think that you can just discount that. I would love to say that Rudy Gobert is at that level, but quite frankly, he's just not anymore. Defensively, he's still great, but he's just not the same guy offensively. We'll see what we can get with LaMelo Ball throwing Rudy Gobert passes. The dude is probably gonna miss a few of those catches. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting to see what's going to happen. Honestly, from the T Wolves position, they now have Ayo Dosunmu, Lamelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, and Dante DiVincenzo, who are all smaller guards. You can't really play three of them at a time because, the size doesn't work. They're not really stretchable. None of them play great defense where they can play the three, even. Where you were able to, at least in the lineups where we saw De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, you can see Stephon Castle's length and defensive ability give him the opportunity to actually make plays there at the small forward position, regardless of his height. You don't get that with Ant. Ant has like some scrappy defensive moments, but regardless, defensively by the numbers and honestly by the eye test, he's not an elite defender. He's a very average defender. LaMelo Ball is a subpar defender. I don't know. I just don't see. I get that the Wolves are in a win now position, and Anthony Edwards is clearly happy with this deal happening. But to me, I don't see enough from this roster to scream contender. And that might be a hot take. I don't really think it is. I think that enough people are out here saying that. But unless you get another elite Rudy Gobert performance, I don't think you're locking up the Nuggets again. The Spurs and the Thunder already, I think, are going to be better than this team. I'm trying to think of some Western Conference teams off the top of my head. We'll kind of see what the rest of them do, but being fourth best in a conference doesn't give you anything special. You need to compete for a championship, and I can pretty safely say, and I'm willing to get this wrong, that the Nuggets, Spurs, and Thunder will be better NBA teams. Regardless of what the regular season happens, when it comes down to the playoffs, the Spurs, Nuggets, and Thunder are going to play better basketball. And if they get matched up with any of these three teams, it will probably not end well for them. And the Lakers. Honestly, depending on what they do here, I'm still waiting on free agency for my Lakers decision. But so I won't confidently put the Lakers above them, but I can very easily see the Lakers also becoming that next level team because you see Luka Doncic on one team, and frankly, Ant isn't Luka Doncic to me. But this is going to be a very interesting series. And by series, I mean like upcoming year of basketball. Because we're going to see how the first year plays out. And if Knuckle surprises the world and becomes elite, as in like he's like the best player from one of the more stacked draft classes we've seen already in the 2025 NBA draft, we have no idea what is coming. I'm saying he's outperforming Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper next year. That's the kind of possibility you have when you give him the keys to the offense here. On the flip side, you may not play that well. You may end up as a 10th seed, which is in contention for the first overall pick. If you don't end up with the first overall pick, you'll probably end up with the top 5 pick. And you have the opportunity to just repeat here and just get another stud player that is more around Knuckle's timeline. You have more picks to make further decisions down the future. You're kind of doing what the Spurs did here. Except at that time, the Spurs kind of waited until they had the losing seasons with DeRozan, had the losing seasons with LaMarcus Aldridge before selling these players off. But I think it's a very proactive move from the Hornets. I see this as a huge win for the Hornets. For the Timberwolves, obviously they can always outperform expectations. The Spurs outperformed expectations this year. Teams will outperform, underperform expectations. Expectations are a baseline, not a, 100% on what will happen. But to me, I find it very unlikely that they are going to make it back to the conference finals this year. So, assuming that everyone is healthy as well. If LaMelo Ball isn't healthy, the trade reflects even worse. Because right now, this is a big conversation. Ant is in the win now era, where if he doesn't start winning, we're gonna start calling into question, Michael Jordan's son and all of that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. This is very early in the NBA offseason. I need to see a little bit more from free agency so I can see how the full roster is constructed. But wow, I did not believe the LaMelo Ball trade was going to happen. We can also think about the Kawhi Leonard thing. The Clippers want him to stay. He wants to stay in LA. The main thing is how much money is he going to command? And he's not going to resign if he goes to the Heat or the Pistons. So, this is the information that we have coming out from insider sources so far. To me, everyone's talking about he may come back. I would love it. This is going to be super biased, but he's the first player that really got me into basketball. He's the kind of player that, like, when I play basketball, I try to be like. I don't have the freakish wingspan, athleticism, or anything there, or skill, but he's one of my favorite stories. He is my favorite player of all time. It would be hard to say I don't want him. What would it command to get a player of his caliber on our team? Everything. And I think it would bring us closer to a championship. I think at this point, we have drafted well enough. Do we really need more picks? We have seen the formula is not always to just draft every single player. Sometimes you got to just say screw them picks. And why not give it that potential to bring a proven player? The issue is always the injury concern, but I think you can get him for a discount there. I don't think that this is a buy high on Kawhi Leonard. He's at a discount with so many years of injury history where, yeah, we may have to give up a player or two here, where we may have to give up someone like Champagny, but I think Champagny's on his way out anyway. We're drafting a bunch of bigs that are going to take over his spot. He's on the last year of his deal. He was super cheap, which is why he was able to be on the team. Trust me, I love Champagny, but we got him because he was a player who was so below average that he was cut from the Sixers so a dude could play in the dunk contest. I think that at the end of the day, we got lucky with it. He is now our franchise leader in 3-point makes. And we have a lot going for us as a potential contender. And I would love to see Kawhi back in that uniform. Give him a few picks. See what happens. But, yeah. As far as other information goes, Mitchell Robinson are likely to come back to the Knicks. We knew that his contract is just going to be so bloated this year. He's going to get overpaid, and it's going to look like a horrible contract in the future years. But, hey, it's happened. I think he's going to be a Warrior just because center depth in the Warriors camp is pretty weak. And I think he could play well playing alongside Stephen Curry, catching some lobs, but even if he's older. That's basically all I have here. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and have a blessed day. Psych, we're not done because I'm getting ready to stream, and all of a sudden Miles Bridges is getting a ton of interest around the league per Shams Charania. I have no idea what's happening, and I like the idea of getting rid of the two people who cause the most issues off the field, have injury history, but I guess we're probably going to see a Miles Bridges trade in the morning. So we'll see what happens there. I will try my best to get there as soon as possible to talk about it. Again, I'm a working man, can't do too much about that, but yeah. Officially now, I will be leaving on this note, and I really, really hope that this is just interest because I really have no idea what the Hornets are doing otherwise. But yeah, shout out if you watched this entire thing. Shout out if you made it to the Miles Bridges part. But I'll see y'all later. I'm about to stream. See you.